Another day, another video game adaptation in 2026 when we are only 2 months in, which is the craziest part. But regardless, the Mortuary Assistant film released just over the Valentine's weekend, and I'm here to talk about it. I apologize for being a little late. I haven't really had time to sit down, record, and edit, so I'm getting this out to you a couple days late, but that's alright as long as we're here. And honestly, let's just dive into it. If you're new around here and you don't know, I have a ton of other 2026 reviews on the channel, as well as a ton on the letterbox you can check out, and you also have a list where I rank all of my 2026 movies on the letterbox as well. By the end of the year, I plan to do a big long video where I rank every single movie I watched in 2026, and at the end of every month I do like a recap video as well, so you can check all of that out on the channel. But anywho, let's talk about The Mortuary Assistant. So, The Mortuary Assistant was a video game released in 2022 that pretty much took the world by storm. An indie video game developed by Darkstone Digital. It released in August of 2022 and basically took the world by storm when a lot of big YouTubers like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and Corey Kenshin even played this game, and it kind of blew up. And it was most notable for its big scares and its demon entity that haunts you, and just the general concept of having dead bodies that you have to, embalm and stuff like that. And that really is what added to the horror of the game. The story is also quite, cool. Like, it's a good story, but it's very dense, I guess, and the game has multiple endings that you can get by doing different things in the story. Well, the movie adaptation came out over the weekend, as I mentioned, and starring Willa Holland, the plays Thea Queen in the Arrow TV series back all the way a few years ago, and she's here in this film, and yeah, I don't know what she was thinking with this one. The Mortuary Assistant movie, let's just go ahead and throw it out of the gate here, is not only a bad adaptation, but a very bad movie. We talked about Return to Silent Hill last month, and I mentioned how it failed to be an adaptation and a movie, but there were a few redeeming qualities about it. To be honest with you, the Mortuary Assistant film doesn't really have those redeeming qualities, but let's start with the positives, because there is one thing I want to mention in the positives. And that one thing I want to mention is the cinematography. Now, The Mortuary Assistant was directed by Jeremiah Kipp, who I don't think has done really any big movies. He did Slapface in 2021. Haven't seen it. It doesn't have very many reviews, but that's something he has done, and I haven't seen anything else that he's made. So I don't know if he's an established director. I assume that he's not. And I will say, I think his directing in this film is at least decent. However, it does come with the caveat that there is a very, very bright white filter on this movie. And I'll talk about that in the mixed in a minute. But I think in general, the cinematography in this film is decent. I think Jeremiah Kipp has the ability to improve his skill in a future film of some kind. But as it stands, I don't see any world where this movie or any of his projects that he has made prior are going to sell me on his directing abilities. And to be honest with you, that's pretty much all I have to say about the positives. I don't think... Yeah, let's just jump into the mixed. In the mixed category, there's going to be a lot more stuff, and we're going to start with the actual entity design of the creature, as well as the color grading. So, in the film, or even in the video game, if you don't know, the plot of The Mortuary Assistant is that this woman, she works in a morgue and she just finished training, and she finds out throughout the course of the night that a demon that has been kept in the basement of the morgue has taken hold of her, and her boss has to guide her on how she's going to be able to exorcise the demon from the body in the morgue and survive the night. In the film, not only do they really fail to capture any of the mystique of any of that, but let's start with the demon itself. The demon in the film is completely different, and in fact is more of a lineage thing than anything else. I figure you're probably not going to watch this film because it is so terrible, so I'm going to go ahead and give the spoiler warning here so we can talk about it. The demon in this film has been locked up in the basement as a physical manifestation. And not only that, but throughout the film, the demon is implied to have been in the main character, Rebecca's life, since she was born. And the way that they show you that is that in a flashback that in the video game is left very ambiguous and misunderstood so that you can have more room to grow with Rebecca as a character. In the film adaptation, her dad dies while trying to stop her from dying from an overdose, and in the movie they show the demon standing there as he falls down into the rocks and hits his head and dies, which is already a super contrived way of having the demon have history with Rebecca that was completely unnecessary and is void from the video game, because in the game and even in the movie, as explained early on in the film, the demon has all knowledge of who Rebecca is. It doesn't matter if it was there or not. It knows everything. So the fact that there's a super contrived flashback to show that it's like it was there when her father died is meaningless. But the reason this is in the mixed category is more about the practical effects of it. I think in general this film has very good practical effects, and I could even put that as a positive as a whole. But the part about it that makes it mixed is the costume of the demon. The demon costume actually looks really good in the darkness in certain sequences. Like, there are multiple instances where it will stand kind of in the dark and it looks really cool, and the actor who's giving the physical performance in the costume does a decent job at like crawling around on the floor and being kind of creepy, and it works, and I'm okay with that. But what doesn't work in this film is that the actual moments where the demon is creepy are only given like 2 minutes of actual screen time, because all of the other moments it is shown in broad daylight, and the costume just looks terrible. It looks awful in daylight. There are multiple instances where instead of the demon doing creepy stuff in the dark, they'll just show it standing in broad daylight, and when it stands in broad daylight, it looks ridiculous. It looks absolutely horrendous. So that instantly knocked down the practical effects for me into the mixed category. The next thing I want to add to the mixed is going to be Willa Holland as an actress, as well as Paul Sparks as an actor. I think both of them could have maybe sold their characters with a much better script, and we'll get into the script in a minute. But for the most part, I think both of them are a little too, unaware of how they need to perform as these characters. Rebecca is a very quiet and, I would say, confused for the most part in the video game, but because it's a player character, even though she's confused, she's still actively doing things. And I feel like Willa Holland didn't really get the memo with what she needed to do as Rebecca. And on the other hand of that, Paul Sparks actually is pretty decent as Raymond, the morgue owner. He's able to sell in kind of the first half of the film this kind of almost artificial feeling boss that's hiding things, and he's not very transparent, and he's very flat, I guess, is kind of his purpose in the first half of the film. And then by the second half of the film, he gets a little creepy, and he gets a little bit more direct and blunt, and even more just outlandish, I guess, as a character. And I think for the most part, Paul Sparks is decent enough at performing that. And if anything, he at least looks a lot like Raymond from the games, so there's at least that. The other thing I want to put into mixed is the novelty of this looking like the video game. As I said in the as I mentioned earlier, the practical effects all look pretty good, but so does the set design. I mean, it's not a one-to-one recreation of the building from the video game, but it's pretty damn close. They get the entry doorway with the office set up there, as well as the bathroom. Then you have the hallway that goes into the mortuary with the operating table connected to the hallway with the big steel door that's like push, and then there's the room with all the actual mortuary box things and the furnace. And they do a good job of at least recreating it, but the big issue is that it's kind of a novelty at first. Like, the movie sells you on the idea that it's cool that it looks like the video game, and then by the end of the film they don't really do anything with that knowledge that makes it all that really interesting beyond being a novelty that it looks like the game. So I put it in the mixed because it's not really anything all that interesting. And the last thing I want to say in the mixed, I mentioned the cinematography is a positive for me. I think the movie looks good cinematically, but the big issue is that this movie has a massive white-gray color filter all over it. every time there's like sunlight seeping into the room or like the bright luminescent lights are on, everything is very white in this movie. And even at the end of the film, there is a super terrible green screen of Willa Holland and her father talking to each other. And when it happens, it's on this bright white background that made me feel like I was like turning my phone on at 3 a.m. and the brightness was on max. It was so bright. And that bright white filter especially contrasts really heavily with some of the shots in this film. Like, there will be instances where the manifestation of the demon, not like the physical costume, but just like this dark abyss thing, will be standing in the corner. And mind my language, but it looks like shit when they do it because the bright white filter is so bright that it just looks terrible. And it's especially bad towards the end of the film when it's daylight and the demon stands out in the middle of the open, and it looks really stupid because the white hits really heavy on his already white-gray costume, and it just looks really terrible. So I don't know why they put a white filter over it when the movie had actually decent cinematography. I guess they wanted it to look more like the video game, but even the video game doesn't really do that, so I couldn't tell you, but that's a pass for me. Alright, with all of that being said, let's go into the negatives because, I have a lot of them. So, in my showing of this film, it was quite packed. I saw this the night of Valentine's Day. I had gone, to dinner and hung out with my girlfriend all day, and then eventually she got picked up and taken home at, 9-something, and I said, you know what, I have, there's one last showing of this movie at 10 o'clock, I'll go watch it, it's free, I don't have to pay for it, and the theater's 5 minutes away. So, I went and I saw it that night, and of course, there was a lot of couples in there, and there was also, a family in the back, and it was a relatively packed showing, shockingly. And I was like, okay, there's people showing up, and I went into this movie with pretty moderate expectations, yeah, it'll probably be a little scary, but the plot will probably be bad, and then the acting won't be very good, and I'll just move on with my life. I'll give it a 2-star and move on. But, no, we had not just one, not just two, not just three, but 4 whole couples, in one of which was the big family sitting in the back of the theater, just completely walk out of this movie less than an hour in. That's the most walkouts I've ever had in a showing, ever. Of any movie I've ever seen, that's the most walkouts I've ever seen. It was also the most, mobile theater I've ever been in. There were a lot of times where people would just get up to go get a drink or get up to go get more snacks because they were so bored they needed something to do if they drank all their drink. On top of that, there was multiple people in the theater that were sighing when there were certain instances of things that needed to be scary. There was stuff that was supposed to be a jump scare or whatever, and people would just go, really loudly, which was really funny, and couldn't take the movie seriously at that point. And the last thing I want to say in terms of the audience reception was that at the end of the film, when the night was over and Willa Holland was getting a monologue from Paul Sparks' character, everyone around me was perking up on the edge of their seat, waiting to just get up and leave. And as soon as the credits rolled, nobody stuck around to even talk about the movie. They all just left immediately. So that's all I have to say about the audience reception. Nobody in my theater liked this one, I'm afraid to say. So yeah, definitely don't go watch it. But next up, let's talk about the acting. I'm somebody who bad acting doesn't bother me. I usually can write off bad acting, especially because when people say acting is bad, they're usually being pretty over the top with oh, that acting is so bad, and then it's really not that bad. It's just not incredible acting. You've got your A-list DiCaprio, who can pretty much sell any emotion whatsoever. And then there's some actors who they aren't as good as other people, but they're okay. And then you have this movie, which is, I wouldn't even call it acting, to be honest with you. It's meandering pointlessness for no reason. Nothing. They're not even playing a character. They're not even being themselves. They're just kind of reading what was on the paper and doing it. I'm assuming it's probably more of a script issue, that the script in this movie is just awful. Whoever wrote the script just doesn't know what they're doing. Because this movie just sucks. To watch. It's just not even fun to watch this movie. In that regard, talking about the script is that it's the most confusing movie I've ever seen. As somebody who hasn't played the game, but I've watched the game from start to finish and seen all the endings, I knew what I was getting into in terms of the plot, how the plot was structured. This film fails to do pretty much any of that. There's no nuance to any of the demon stuff. They don't really explain which ending of the game you get in the movie. And on top of that, it seems like they try and combine a lot of different endings, like a lot of things that happen in the different endings of the game, into one ending in the movie. But the movie itself doesn't have an ending. Like, it doesn't, like, in the movie, there is an ending. Like, at the end of the film, Rebecca chooses to continue fighting the demons. That's how the movie ends. But before the ending monologue where she's being told she's going to have to do this, she is supposed to exorcise the demon from the body. And when she does it, there's no, like, conclusion to that. Like, it's never explained that she got the demon out of her or anything. Like, she never experiences the demon actually leave her body or, like, the fallout of that. We just cut right to her getting the conversation she's going to have to keep fighting demons. This movie doesn't have an ending. It doesn't choose a video game ending. It just doesn't have an ending. And it's pointless. It's ridiculous. It also fails to incorporate game mechanics in general. Like, there's no... Like, the game mechanics don't logically make sense here, and when they do, they get introduced at the very end of the movie. Like, by the time there's only 20 minutes left of the movie is when they finally introduce the concept that she has to find the demon through the stones on, like, the ritual slab or whatever. It's like, why didn't we have the whole movie that her trying to figure out the demon's name? Because that's what it's about. Like, that's what the video game's about. And on top of that, not incorporating game mechanics, they also don't incorporate any of the most, like, iconic video game moments into this movie. I've always said, why even make a movie adaptation if you're not gonna talk about the things that make the game so good or show those in a movie way? For example, in the games, very, very popular thumbnail image is the demon standing on top of the cabinet, because that's really scary in the game. And that's just not here. It's not in the movie at all. That cabinet doesn't even exist. And in the same regard, the moment where Rebecca walks down the hallway, but then suddenly there's a brick wall in the game, and the demon pops around the brick wall, and it just disappears, even though there's not a way it could have done that physically, that's not here either. All of those iconic moments from the game are just gone. This is like a whole abstract idea. This genuinely feels like, to me, somebody went to Wikipedia, picked a random ending, and read the description of the game plus that random ending, and then tried to make a movie about that without ever having actually played the game, talked to a developer, or just even put an ounce of thought or care into anything. Whoever wrote this movie needs to be immediately, like, kicked out of Hollywood. Needs to never touch anything ever again, or at least never touch a video game adaptation ever again. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say about it. I hated this movie. It's one of the worst movies I've seen this year. It's my second least favorite movie I've seen this year. They don't sell the game narrative at all. They don't sell the acting. They don't sell anything in this movie. This movie sucks. Don't watch this. This is a total misfire. Another terrible video game adaptation to add to the list of terrible video game adaptations. And in general, it's not worth your time. So that's all I have to say about the Mortuary Assistant. I hate making these videos where I just kind of yap about how bad something is, because, like, that's not fun. Like, let me enjoy things, you know? Let me have a good time. But regardless, we got another bad video game adaptation to add to the list. I hope you all enjoyed me ranting about it being bad for 20 minutes. I hope that my next video, I'll probably be talking about either Crime 101 or Psycho Killer in the next video. Or at least Crime 101 I really enjoyed. Psycho Killer, hoping is going to be really good. So that's all I have to say about the Mortuary Assistant movie. Don't go check this one out. Do not waste your time with it. It is a total misfire. And that's all I've got to say. So if you're new around here, it would really help if you liked and subscribed. It really helps me out. It makes me more motivated to keep doing this, because I love doing it, and I just want to have, fun talking with you all about movies and stuff. If you enjoyed this movie, please leave a comment in the description telling me what you liked about it. And maybe I missed something. Maybe I just didn't get it, but I couldn't do it. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you all in the next one, and peace out.